to the road to the summit. We're starting up again. We had a great road to the summit leading up to Indianapolis in April, and now we're doing it again in October 28th through the 30th in Orlando. My name's Kevin Hill with Brush Pass Research and Carrier Source, and I will be your guide through the first episode to the road to the summit. We have two phenomenal guests with us today. But let's talk about the summit a little bit and what you can expect in Orlando. It's going to be at the Hyatt Regency Orlando, right? So we have rooms I've booked there, so you can get your conference room, your conference discount for that. Once again, it's October 28th through the 30th. So we start off 28th with Learning Labs, great educational day, and then the meat of the conference on the 29th and the 30th. And again, still great educational content, great business content, as well as business contacts, a great networking, and a lot of conferences talk about networking, but we make it happen on the floor because that is where brands go to get elevated and deals get done. A lot of freight is covered and moved between brokers and carriers at the summit in great long-lasting relationships. And over the course of the next few weeks, as we do the road to the summit, we'll be bringing on a lot of our past attendees who have made some phenomenal business contacts and deals at the conference. I think, in April in Indianapolis, I think that the next week there were, one company, Bay, covered about $400,000 worth of freight for the year. They awarded that to carriers they met at the summit, and that was just a few days after that. So we'll check in with those guys over there as in the coming weeks. We're going to preview our sponsors, of course. Shout out to Thai Software for sponsoring this podcast. So this first episode, we have two great guests for you. The first one's Chris Kolquist with Chris Kolquist with Collyway, and their advisor and investor in smaller brokers and carriers. You might know Chris. He did M&A deals for C.H. Robinson back to start off his career. So a lot of the early acquisitions from C.H. Robinson were under his watch. And then we have the co-founder and CEO of Carrier Source and Shipper Intent Data joining us. They've both been to many conferences, many BCS conferences, summits, and they have great stories. So without further ado, let's just jump to those interviews. And we welcome our first guest here. It's Chris Kolquist from Collyway. How are you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing great. It's Friday.
It is Friday, which is always good. And we're sitting here, we're talking about the Broker Carrier Summit. And I'd like to get your opinion on, the first time you attended the event. I think it was in Kansas City. And then you joined us in Indianapolis as well, and I believe in Dallas too.
Yeah, correct. No, they've been great, and obviously the one coming up in Orlando, and I think they've evolved, but they take a little bit different than some of the other conferences, which I think is great, depending on. And Collier touches logistics in a bunch of different ways, so having different partners there and having some diversity, I think is really good for us. So it works well. We're looking forward to meeting some partners there in a few months. And it's good to go to new spots as well. I guess I haven't been to Orlando in a little while, so looking forward to that as well.
Same here. It's been a while since I've been in Orlando, and I think as we're recording this, it's about 80 days out. So 80 days out, everybody's getting geared up and prepared, and kind of your initial thoughts whenever you joined us in Kansas City. What kind of hooked you? You said that the conference is a little bit different than your normal conference. Can you identify in what way?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of again, obviously you got a lot of carriers there. So in our world, obviously, the commercial side, the customer side, the carrier side is really important. So, meaning either current carriers that we would be doing business with, future carriers, hearing from them what's in the markets, some of their pains. Obviously, you had a lot of vendors there on technology, insurance, and other things. I think everyone's on a little bit different journey there, but always good to kind of check in with that. I do think keeping up in the tech world is really important. We all do that in our lives, in our normal days, but doing it in one spot where you have a plan around it, and then just general networking with other kind of brokers and other people in the space. So, we typically go in and have a feel for our current partners who are participating in the event and who are not, and then again, somewhat advocate if you're not going, be a good way to meet people, kind of in one spot. But then I think there's a lot of good content as well, right? So I know I've seen some of the agenda. I don't know if it's fully done yet or not, but those are hot things in the market that it's just good that we're spending some more time with experts. And I think it drives good dialogue with others while you're there, whether it's, the fraud or the tech or all the things that go on in our freight world. It's never dull. So surround ourselves by good people who are smart.
Yeah, and the FMCSA updates are some of my favorites. In Indianapolis, we had the checkpoints or the inspection demo, which was awesome. I always like it because brokers and carriers are there and they're finding great partners to work together and doing deals at the conference. And I don't think any other conference out there really brings the two parties together to talk, to discuss, their challenges. But at the end of it, they're actually doing business together.
Right. I remember one of the panels on the intent was really good. We had done some things there, but it's just so great to hear from numerous different experts in that space with different thoughts. I mean, that was something we walked away with some specific ideas and some partners that we chatted with kind of afterwards as well. But I thought that was something that it kind of pushed us a little bit. We know it's obviously important. We're dabbling in it, but there's a lot more that we can do. And I think it's come a long ways as well. So that's another one I just kind of remember that was really hit home for us.
Yeah, and Chris, you mentioned the 007 platform, which I love the name, number one, right? I named the business after a spy term myself. Can you tell us a little bit more about the 007 platform and how you guys work with brokers and carriers?
Collieway is kind of the lead investor there, so we definitely play a role. And Collieway goes to market as really operators with a lot of M&A and investment experience. But this is where we get to kind of use that and really help that team. And so that model is really built for business owners. And we've been in the space a long time, and we thought they needed to be something different than what's traditionally out there. And it's really freed up a lot of people who have had success with it on being their own boss, being their own business owner, but having a platform like 007 across all the service offerings, truckload, LTL, expedited, dray, all those things, and someone that you can, trust and plug into with all the capabilities. And, we have a lot of things that allow our business owners to make choices too. Like our truckload kind of go to market is choice of Chicago style or, cradle to grave. That's a little different. And it's all built around what's best for the business owner and then making sure we have a platform and back office and support. And we've got a very differentiated kind of leads ecosystem that we feed our business owners as well. So we tried to focus on the areas that were more valuable to them versus, sometimes you can get caught chasing some things that maybe aren't as valuable to kind of business owners within the logistics world. So the model is really, it's been successful for people who want that. Not everybody does. We definitely have a lot of people that don't probably fit that model and totally understand that. And it's actually for a smaller community. So even when we go to market and our director of talent acquisition is out there chatting with partners, we obviously have some things that we qualify pretty quickly. And there's other things that Collieway touches that we basically take some of the talent and can either refer and or put them on some of our other investments. But the 007 platform, and I think in today's world where there's a lot of different challenges in the market, it's just another option. It's just something different out there that I think, business owners, whether they own their own business today or want to, or they could be a leader in a W-2 organization or just different ways to do it. It's just another good option that we'd love to tell them about if they have interest.
Exactly right. It's in this environment in freight, you have to be creative, right? You have to think outside the box a little bit to survive. What are some of your I don't want to say favorite topics because then it might not be something you particularly like. But what are the big topics in freight that you want to learn more about? Is it tariffs? Is it fraud? Is it FMCSA regulations, kind of governmental regulations?
Probably a couple things that our team is working pretty hard right now is, technology within the AI. So AI is a buzzword. AI is real. and really just navigating our way through what that means, how you define it, what vendors, at what point do we invest and engage and kind of monitor that. And so I think for at least for us, we're diving deep in that so we understand it. We don't have the answer. We're not creating it. We've got some partners that we're kind of working with, but I think that's a big one. Our customers ask us about that. Our other partners ask us about that, and so I'd say that's a big one. You got fraud and claims are always out there. So that keeps our management team up at night for sure. And so that's probably, and just sales and commercial strategies. I think what you're seeing in the market today with the challenge is everyone's kind of watching their costs a little tighter. There's obviously been some layoffs, different restructuring on less support for your sales and commercial. So it really puts a lot more pressure on the sales and commercial side. And so that's where we spend a lot of our time, even knowing that market is a little challenging today. So, content like that would be ones that we would definitely want to participate in or hear from. So those 3 or 4 are probably, kind of top of mind for us, but they're all important. I know different members on my team obviously have different things, but just kind of off the top of my head, those are ones I've been personally spent a lot of time with over the last few weeks and just consistently.
Yeah, and it's totally buzzword right now. It's floating around. A lot of people don't really understand it. I barely understand it, and I can apply it to certain things I do. But I'm learning more and more about it every day. I think it's something that is going to touch us all, whether we want to or not, whether we like it or not. And I think it should make the freight process a little bit smoother in the future.
Right. Yeah, we've got a leader on our team that she's focused on that. So it's really, we're lucky that, I've had a couple vendors and tech people come up and they're all pitching the AI, and, I kind of have Katie look at a lot of that. And it's really important. So as we have, whether it's our 007 platform or some of our other investments, you've got someone who's monitoring that more closely. It's hard for all of us to kind of keep up, to be honest. And when you're a business owner, and so a lot of our partners kind of appreciate the expertise that we can at least bring another voice and say, there's a lot of good partners out here, or depending on what you want to accomplish, is kind of what drives AI. So
You're exactly right on that. Is it depending on what you want to accomplish? That's how you fit it all in together, and it's a little different for every organization out there.
yeah, sure is. I mean, it's definitely real. It's definitely going fast. It's just how do you want to participate? And I do think you could waste some time and effort too. So I mean, it's always, do you want to be the first mover? You know, that's all depending on where you're at in the market, and what your strategy is. So there's not a right answer to that. But I think being very aware and having a strategy around it and approach, even if you say, hey, we're not going to go down this path or go down that path or this investment, you're doing it with, a better thought process versus just, hey, I'll wait to see what happens in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and I'll jump on at the end. That'll be a little harder.
You're exactly right. Well, Chris, thanks for stopping by to the Road to the Summit, and we're looking forward to seeing you out in Orlando, and hanging out and listening to some great content and making new contacts and building on our networks.
Right. Well, thanks for having me on today. Looking forward to it. Again, 80 days. I knew it was getting close, so it'd be great to be down there. Looking forward to seeing a lot of people, including yourself. So thanks for having me on. Coley will be there, and looking forward to meeting new people, plus all the people that we're partnering with already there. So thank you.
Thank you. And now we have our next guest here. It is Rob Light, the co-founder and CEO of Carrier Source. How are you doing today, Rob?
I'm doing great, Kevin. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. You bet. So we met at the Broker Carrier Summit in Orlando, the first real official one a couple years ago now, right?
Yeah, down in Tampa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was much smaller, pretty intimate, but yeah, that's where we first met.
Yeah, yes, as exactly. And then in Kansas City, we were on the same panel multiple times, right? And we were doing our workshops together, right? Like 4 or 5 different sessions over a course of 2 or 3 days in Kansas City.
Yeah, and that was a great experience too. I always like getting the opportunity to speak at the Broker Carrier Summit. I think It's rare that you get the opportunity to dialogue with both brokers and carriers at the same time. And I think historically the BCS has done a good job of providing topics that are relevant to both sides. And so I think my biggest takeaway from our panels, as we did 4 or 5 of them there, was how open the conversation was. It was not just us sitting up there, spouting our beliefs. It was very much an open conversation amongst the brokers and carriers in the room of how they could ultimately better connect and build relationships.
Yeah, we had rotating sessions, right? So different groups would come in at different times, and each group, it was very interactive. Each group was a very interactive type of session where a lot of people had their feedback, their tips and tricks, kind of some of their challenges, carriers working with brokers, why do brokers do this? And brokers asking, why do carriers do this during the business process? And, everyone got to explain why they do that, what they're guarding against, what their SOPs are, if you will, right? What matters to them most. And at the end of it, everyone got to walk in each other's shoes a little bit. And I think it's magical when that happens.
Yeah, I think the most kind of startling revelation from it was that it's a lot of the under the hood details that a broker doesn't know about a carrier and a carrier doesn't know about a broker, right? But that are very simple at the end of the day, right? And so as long as that dialogue can take place, it's not hard to know how one party wants to execute, right? It's not, once you start those conversations, it's really easy for the other side to understand what you as a broker, what you as a carrier is trying to accomplish. I think one of those examples was, right, like just how to build relationships across the other side, right? Like how can you approach your everyday phone calls that you have with the other side of the industry in a way that helps you better stand out, that helps you better build a true relationship with a partner. And I think that's something that goes so overlooked in this industry, but it's not that complicated of a thing to do, right? But nobody really thinks about it in their day-to-day.
No one really does, and I go back to Tampa and kind of, I was just blown away by Tampa because it was small, it was intimate. But it was a little bit on the larger scale, right? We're in a nice, beautiful hotel, had great events, a couple hundred people there. And one of the things that I've been completely blown away with when it comes to Broker Carrier Summit is that each session it gets a little bit bigger, more people showing up, but it still has that nice, intimate feel. And I think it goes back to the audience and the audience and the people who show up and want to contribute, right? You're not sitting there in a chair with people like us talking to you about what you should be doing. It is very interactive. And I know that the speakers there, they gain a lot of knowledge by the interaction that is happening, and all that interaction translates into business and business being done at the conference between brokers and carriers. And it's always exciting.
Yeah. And I can't help but think of how valuable it is for small fleets, owner operators to show up for a day or two and to make those connections, right? I think brokers have the benefit of not being on the road, not having to sit in the assets. And so they have a little bit more leeway in their day-to-day to build those relationships. And at the end of the day, that's their business, right? They're only as good as their carrier relationships. So they do focus on that quite a bit. But I think if I were sitting in the shoes of a small fleet and owner operator, I think I would try my best to show up at a BCS event because you're going to make connections. And I don't think that there's really another event out there that offers that to them, to find good broker partners to work with.
Yep. I think you have really good carrier conferences and fleet conferences, and it's all about running your fleet. You have really good brokerage conferences, and it's all about, networking with your fellow brokerages like the TIA. But bringing both together to really learn from each other and establish business contacts and that vague networking type of language everyone always uses. The networking equates into sales right then and there. Uh, Weeks after the conference, people are still wrapping up business development opportunities. We have, as we go through the road to the summit each week, we'll be highlighting more of those people who have been to the conference, but brokers and carriers who've done a lot of business there, and it's really transformed their business.
Yeah, I think meeting your broker or carrier partner in person or developing a new relationship in person is incredibly different than doing that through your standard phone calls, emails, load boards, whatever it might be, right? It's a very different and more effective way of doing business. I think you can actually learn who the person is on the other side, and build an actual relationship, not something a little more superficial or divided by an inbox.
It's much different once you meet someone face to face, right? You have coffee with them, you have breakfast with them, I have dinner, a drink, share some good times at the summit with a business partner, a new business relationship. That relationship is just on a different level than phone calls and emails and I don't know if anyone uses faxes anymore, but I'm sure there's some people out there who do. So I think that's one of the really special things about it.
It fosters this idea of empathy, which I think lacks very often in the industry, right? To be empathetic of the other side. It's normal to build empathy for whoever you're trying to build this relationship with when you meet in person. And that just doesn't often happen when it's done digitally.
You're exactly right. So tell us what's up at Carrier Source. What I would say what are you guys working on? But I'm over there as well at Carrier Source. So what are we working on to let our audience know?
Yeah, I think we're always working to try to help good carriers and good brokers stand out with our reviews that live forward facing and public on our site. I will say what we've been working on most prominently for the last year or so is our shipper intent data product, which helps carriers who sell direct to shippers as well as brokers identify when shippers are actively searching for capacity solutions, geographically where they're looking for capacity, what type of equipment are they looking for, and so on, and helping to push that data to sales teams that are actively targeting those shippers, right? And helping them more effectively sell their services has been our big focus for a while now. And I do think we've got some cool features coming up as well to help enhance that product, right? A few new features built on top of AI to help provide deeper context on what shippers' needs are based on their interactions on our site. Some ways to help sales teams better target those shippers of who they should be reaching out to, how they should position their services accordingly. And we're always building more ways to attract more brokers, carriers, shippers to our audience.
Well, thanks for stopping by today, Rob. It's always a pleasure. And I guess how does everyone reach out and learn more about Carrier Source?
Yeah, so anybody can go to carriersource.io. It's a free resource for anybody who's looking for new partners to work with. And if you want to reach me directly, it's just rob@carriersource.io.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin.
And those were fantastic interviews. I always love talking to industry leaders, and that's what we'll be doing each week on the road to the summit. We'll be talking to industry leaders, our partners, past attendees, first-time attendees, and we'll be talking about what they like about the summit, what it brings for them, and their key takeaways. And speaking of partners, again, big shout out to Thai Software for sponsoring the road to the summit. And then our other sponsors here, Descartes Highway, Happy Robot, Taps, Hey Bubba, the list goes on. And as you can see on your screen right there. So thank you to all of our sponsors. If you haven't registered yet, you should go and do that right now. You can do that at www.brokercarriersummit.com. That'll take you to the registration page, and you can get all situated to be in Orlando October 28th, 29th, and 30th. They're at the Hyatt, where brands will be elevated, deals will get done, education will happen, and you will have the time of your life. So, with that said, I will catch you next week on the road to the summit. Go out, make some money, make some margin, enjoy.